Well, here we are once again with a couple of comics that I read for this particular episode of Mr. Nailsin's Wednesday Comics. And back to the Ultimate Universe for these titles of Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate Black Panther. And right off the bat, Black Panther wins again. It's just it's a better comic. There's nothing spectacular about it, but it just seems like something's going on with it. Whereas with Ultimate Spider-Man, there just really isn't anything. It's so boring and dragging on, and it had some intriguing things here and there, but I'm just sorry, there's just not a lot there. And once again, the substitute artist, who's all right, but just not on par with, what was his name? Oh, well, it doesn't really matter. Let's see, he did do the cover. Marco Cicchetto, yeah, he's the one who does really great art and everything, but it's just, there's not much to this. So you basically get an origin story for Harry Osborn and how he became Green Goblin. And, gee, what's it all about? Well, you still don't know. And you get a little tour of other, Otto Octavius shows up, stuff like that. And then it catches up with how he encounters Peter's Spider-Man. And then he's talking to Peter. And a lot of conversation. Yeah. And, oh, boy, he's experimenting and stuff. And ultimately, when does he turn bad? And it doesn't matter. This is the 5th issue, and it's just this long dragging thing. And also a big part of the problem is Uncle Ben's alive, and there's really no motivational story here for Peter Parker to even want to be Spider-Man, other than the fact that he gets the message from Tony Stark, and you were robbed, a guy changed time, you were supposed to be this superhero. And dead, by the way. And I guess I don't think he told him that part. And he never made it to 30. So he says, oh, you were robbed and you were meant to be this hero and all of that. And so he ignites his spider powers and whatnot. And so he becomes Spider-Man. But he didn't have the formative experiences that molded Spider-Man into the hero he became. So and as one recalls, Peter Parker was very much out for himself until the tragedy happened and he realized that he needed to be more responsible and all that. Whereas here, well, he's a grown man, he's married, he's got 2 kids, and, you know, he's got enough responsibility already, but yet his pursuit of superheroics is very irresponsible. He's been irresponsible with his young daughter. His wife doesn't know about this, that kind of thing. So maybe that's how they're going to do it, and it'll blow up in his face, and then he's kind of stuck as Spider-Man, and he's got to, take all this more seriously, and he's going to have enemies and all that. Okay, fine, but good Lord, it's taking forever to get there. And so I don't know. I think this is already a failure at this point. You're not in any position to experiment to that extent where you're taking forever to get to a point where, as previous iterations would do it within a few panels. It's like over, when I was doing the Green Goblin stuff, and when the big reveal, Norman Osborn stalks Spider-Man, discovers who he is, captures him, and in the next issue, he tells his whole story in a couple of panels and whatnot, and then they have the big battle, and he loses, and Spider-Man wins. There you go, 2 issues, all that. Of course, Green Goblin had been one of the regular villains and everything, but this was a special story and all that. And a lot was going on in between. Whereas here, snooze-a-roo. So, not what, I would have thought there'd be some adventure here, and yeah, some build up in your world building and whatnot. But boy, I don't know. Oh no. So, meanwhile, Black Panther, which yeah, it's okay and it's better than the Spider-Man one, and by comparison, it's just kind of, well, you could have just done a Black Panther comic book. Why is this Ultimate Black Panther? Other than the weird thing about Moon Knight and all that, and he's married to what's her name, you know, and all that. But that's the deal. And the Kingdom of Wakanda is nervous because things, and T'Challa has been missing, and they're beginning to believe he's dead. One of the, you know, damn it, what's the system? The Melange or the not the no, that's the Dune. No, the, well, I forget. But one of them has betrayed them, and she's looking very much like the Moon Knight attire, but basically she's joined the Moon Knight cult of Khonshu and Ra, which is just really bizarre and strange take on the whole Moon Knight story. Not how that was handled in the original Ultimate Universe, but nevertheless, that's what they're doing here. And then, spoiler, guess who showed? Well, it's called Black Panther, so of course he shows up. But anyway, so there's the plot of the Moon Knight brothers who are going to take down Wakanda. And his wife is upset and mad, but I'm scared and I have to protect you in the kingdom and stuff. But at least something happened, and now he's forming this team. There's Storm and Killmonger, and of course Shuri. He's got too many spies and potential traitors within Wakanda, so he doesn't trust anybody other than them. So there's still things that are a bit boring here and there, but it's moving. There's something afoot. It's going somewhere, and it's not all that great, but that makes it probably the best of the batch here. The X-Men is so strange and weird that I kind of like it, but I don't see that as being a successful X-Men comic book series. So this is really odd. We'll see how the Ultimates go. I haven't read that yet. I think the first issue's out already. But once I get a copy, I'll review that too. But man, oh man, this is odd. Do they not understand adventure anymore? I guess not. Well, anyway, guess who's the best of the batch of all comics really these days? Conan. So basically, this is the one you're going to want to get, this series, and you can pretty much just forget everything else, you know. I mean, I guess World's Finest if you got to have superheroes. But once again, it's great stuff. Whoops, a little violent there. Whoa, well, there's a lot of... oh, geez. Well, what do you expect? It's Conan. And, of course, Robert Del Toro, I believe, is... I'm always getting his name wrong. Rob Delator. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Magnificent artist. And, of course, once again, is channeling the John Buscema art, who established the look for Conan, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to comics. And so this one's really cool because Conan's arch nemesis shows up, and realizing it, I'd read things about Conan in magazines and whatnot, but in the actual comics that I read in my early days, never did get a Thulsa Doom story, and so here, well, spoiler. Well, it wasn't really a spoiler. It was pretty obvious what was going on in the earlier stories, that this would lead to him. And of course, the weird, surreal adventure that Conan is on, you know, sorcery would have to be the culprit here. But anyway, and of course, seeing him arrive like that, it's interesting in the sense that it reminds me of how the Masters of the Universe came about. That was supposed to have been a Conan toy line, and they were like, well... There's a lot of naked women and violence in Conan. Do you want to make a toy line? And they came up with the Masters of the Universe. And then it's like Skeletor. Well, of course, Thulsa Doom is a skull-faced villain in a hood. And there you go. So it's a little little interesting little story there. The actual original, doll that they made, or action figure rather, of He-Man was Conan. That's who that was, and then they just repainted it into He-Man. So there you go. But yes, Conan the Barbarian from Titan Comics is the absolute best. It's just pure Conan, and when you want something from one of these characters, that's what you want. Why can't Superman just be Superman? Why can't Batman just be Batman? That kind of thing. Well, when it comes to Conan, he's Conan. Finally, I got my copy of Yaira from Ripperverse. This is, Eric July's outfit. And so far, I'm largely somewhat underwhelmed by Ripperverse. And hold to that Alpha Core is their best book that came out. The Isom books, the art doesn't hold up, and the story is really chaotic and not very cohesive. Alpha Core is the most put together, and the art was much better than the Isom books. Here, there is something of a cohesive story. It's better than Isom was, and that's in 2 volumes. But I don't know. I just wasn't that wowed by it. The art's it's not too bad. It's got some flaws here and there, but it's way better than Isom was, but it's kind of on par with how Alpha Core looked, I suppose, and all that. But the thing about it is, there's these battles that she has, and then they stop and they go to their separate places. They come back, do it again, then they go to their separate places, then they come back, do it again. This time you will die. No, you will die, and all that, and it goes on and on. And then they die after one thing after another that should have done them in. And then she does the same thing and the same thing and the same thing, and then finally she does them in. And I'm like, well, how? There's really not much of an explanation that I could tell. But nevertheless, that's what happened. It is an interesting story of aliens, and the same old thing of aliens being mistaken for gods and whatnot. And she's this immortal character in that respect that's been around for a while. I didn't even know she had ice powers. That was because she made an appearance in Isom, and this story refers to that moment. She was just flying around, had super strength, and I figured that was her deal. But she's got these ice powers, like what's her face from the Frozen cartoons. And then there's a special girl who's apparently something of a descendant. Well, not something. She is a descendant of hers, but that's there's no big reveal to the reader, but it will be a big reveal to the girl herself. A troubled lass who, I won't spoil everything, but it's rather basic and but repetitive, and what it does unnecessarily so. I guess just to fill out a volume, but probably could have cut it down. Would have been more a tighter story and whatnot. But that's about it. I didn't really like Yaira as a person, but then again, it's some of that I would expect it because she's so alien or whatnot and so distant from humanity. But when you realize how long she's been on Earth and living amongst people, well, she would have picked some things up along the way. I don't know. And the art is adequate for the most part here and there, but in other scenes and stuff, whether the story is calling for expression and whatnot to apply to the scene, and the art just does not register on that. This is usually in facial expressions, and so it's a bit odd in that case. And it's like something, well, what are you laughing at? And the other character isn't laughing at all. I mean, it's not even smiling. I mean, so stuff like that. But all in all, so Alpha Core remains the best, and I guess Yaira is second best. out of the Rippaverse comics so far. So there you go. So out of this batch, yeah, Conan remains the king of adventure comics today. All right. Well, I'll find something else to read for next week's Mr. Nailsin's Wednesday Comics.